After World War II, the economical and political decline in Europe left United States and Soviet Union to share the world power among themselves. Two powerful countries wanted to dominate each other, which increased the tension and raised conflicts that led to Cold War. Cold War was made of series of conflicts, such as the fear of communism in the United States and massive spread of it in Asia that resulted in wars. Mr. Adler was one of many who were part of Cold War era and were involved in the Great War in Vietnam. Mr. Bruce Adler was born in 1945 in Malden, Massachusetts. At the time, his family moved a lot, and he spent his elementary school years, classes 1 through 4, in Waltham. Later, he moved to Lincoln, Massachusetts, and spent his high school years in Lincoln-Sudbury High School. After graduating high school, Mr. Adler went to the University of Chicago, at which he majored in Russian civilization. Mr. Adler's father was an engineer, and during World War II, he worked in the defense industry at Raytheon as an engineer who worked on the radar.
He was an engineer, and during the war, he had worked for Raytheon, and he was an engineer working on radar.
Okay.
He used to joke that it was so secret at the time, it was spelled backwards.
The Cold War was still going on, and communism was spreading fast and taking over Asia. The United States had to act fast in order to save Vietnam from becoming a communist country. Mr. Adler was drafted during his third year in college to fight in the Vietnam War. During the year of 1968, Mr. Adler worked for Raytheon just like his father did, and was responsible for inventory and production control on the advanced Sparrow missile.
When the people I worked for said, "Oh, draft notice, no problem, we'll write a letter to get you out of it. You'll be working here." And the draft board didn't quite see it that way. They said, "Well, no, we're not. We think you should be drafted." And they said, "Well, we'll write another letter because we need you here." And the draft board said, "Well, are you a draftsman? You know, make drawings?"
Yes.
And they said, "No, well, he's not a draftsman. He's responsible for the production control of this missile that we're working on." And they said, "Well, if he's not a draftsman, we have to draft you."
Bruce was neutral in his emotions about serving in the US military, but as he said, it was a draft and he had to do what the country expected him to do. To the question of what was the boot camp like, he said,
Cold.
Cold.
Cold. Fort Dix in November, December. And it was, of course, basic training is a lot of physical exercise, learning how to march and act as a unit. And it's just a bunch of all kinds of people. I think the hard part about it was marching out or jogging out or however, getting out to the field for training, which was a summertime activity it seemed, but here it was in the winter and we would be soaking wet and sweating and then sitting in the cold. And then marching back, cleaning up, trying to shine your boots, get your uniform, do your laundry, whatever. Food was good. I had no problems. They'd serve hot meals in the field. Trucks would come out. So.
After his basic training, Mr. Adler went to advanced training where he learned how to fire all kinds of weapons, starting with handguns and ending with 50 caliber machine guns and rocket launchers.
Infantry is the queen of battle. It's the hand-to-hand, it's the boots. They call them boots on the ground. It's the guys that go out and take a gun and go shoot somebody or make a garrote and strangle them or do something.
After advanced training, Mr. Adler was assigned a position of acting drill instructor in an infantry unit in South Carolina, where he spent some time before he was offered to go to Texas and later Germany. Once Mr. Adler reached Germany, he was assigned to go to infantry. However, that was the only day in the army he was sick. While he was sick, someone looked at his record.
So wait a minute, we don't want you doing that. We want you to go into something else. There's an intelligence job that's waiting in Munich. So go to Munich and we'll see what we can do for you there. So I went to Munich and it was in the winter, but I thought Munich was, again, this super place.
And he wanted to be stationed there for the rest of his military duty. While he was in Munich, he visited museums and stayed at hotels and had a car. Life was good, he said, and he enjoyed it as much as he could. Before Mr. Adler was drafted, he was a pilot and was more interested in economic geography than politics. Some of the traumatizing moments during his service in the Army were when Mr. Adler began advanced individual training.
We got off the train. I crawled, and there was a body that was underneath the train. Mm-hmm. And one half was on one side of the track, and one half was on the other side of the track. And I said, oh my gosh, somebody staged something here. That can't be real. They're just trying to teach us about the blood and gore of battle or something. And then everybody sort of walked along kind of shocked, and then someone said, well, this guy was drunk, and he tried to crawl underneath across the train track when the train came, and he was just cut in half. I don't think I'll forget that.
Mr. Adler made a lot of good friends while on duty, and he tried to find them when the war was over, but he didn't find a single one.
I've tried to find some of them on the internet, but I haven't been able to find them. But
not a single one?
Not one.
After the war, military offered some benefits, some of which he received from U.S. government as a help to its veterans.
I've just learned that if I go in with my form called a DD 214, I could get 10% off at Home Depot.
Really?
But, which I've done, actually. I mean, at least I've said, well, I don't have the form, and I haven't been down to the VA to show you a VA card.
As Mr. Adler said, the war didn't directly affect him, mentally or physically, but he was involved in it and had a lot of new experiences, which he will keep for the rest of his life. The United States lost the Vietnam War when North Vietnam took over the South Vietnam. However, the Cold War ended around 15 years later when Russian leader Gorbachev wanted to introduce democracy to Russian economy and improve relationships with the United States.